to the VIP.
Yeah, the IP, VIP.
Don't wait, cause tonight's on me.
It's on me, baby, all on me, yeah.
Sexy models, champagne bottles.
Yeah, the IP, VIP.
Got 2 models, 3 more bottles.
Model when I'm model, got a bottle, there's only one side.
Be Taylor.
Yeah, the IP, VIP. It's on me, baby, all on me, yeah.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Xander Effect. I'm your host, Xander Dames. Got a lot of really cool stuff to talk about today, including in entertainment news. Taylor Swift goes against Donald Trump on Twitter after some tweets that President Donald Trump had done over the past 24 hours in regards to the George Floyd protests that are currently ongoing right now in Minnesota. In sports, looks like there may be a super fight between Conor McGregor and Anderson the Spider Silva, which would be an awesome fight to watch, if you ask me. In video game news, Call of Duty Modern Warfare has added duos to Warzone. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Plus, I have special guests, author, actress, model, Wendy Stewart Kaplan joins me and tells me a few very interesting stories, including the time that she met Andy Warhol at Studio 54. But first, here is Great Gags, End of the World, right here on the Xander Effect.
It's the end of the world as we know it. I'm running this show like Corona. Let the trash fucking rain and I'ma grow it. As the rain coming down on me, got me fucking going. It's the end of the world as we know it. I'm running this show like Corona. Let the trash fucking rain and I'ma grow it. As the rain coming down on me, got me fucking going insane. I've been going insane and got me going insane and got me going insane. I've been going insane. I've been going insane. It got me going insane and I've been going insane. It's the end of the world as we know it. I'm running this show like Corona. Let the trash fucking rain and I'ma grow it. As the rain coming down on me, got me fucking going insane. Got me losing my brain, ripping out my eyes. And in my heart there's a snake, in my grass there's a snake. Wait, so I'ma blow his head right off, head right off, head right off with his head and I'm dead on the inside. Guts gone, skin dry, I'm barely alive. I'm asking to cries, I'm asking to die. I'm asking him why, I'm asking to die. Hey! It's the end of the world as we know it. I'm running this show like Corona. Let the trash fucking rain and I'ma grow it. Acid rain coming down on me, got me fucking going. It's the end of the world as we know it. I'm running this show like Corona. Let the trash fucking rain and I'ma grow it. Acid rain coming down on me, got me fucking going insane. My body's in pain, I ache till I cry. What is the wait? I'm waiting on what? Guess I light up a blunt and get rid of this brain. Don't think I ever been sane, don't think I ever been the same. What? I'm the big bad wolf, what now? Big bad wolf on the fucking prowl. I'm the big bad wolf, what now? Big bad wolf on the fucking prowl. It's the end of the world as we know it. I'm running this show like Corona. Let the trash fucking rain and I'ma grow it. Acid rain coming down on me, got me fucking going. It's the end of the world as we know it. I'm running this show like Corona. Let the trash fucking rain and I'ma grow it. Acid rain coming down on me, got me fucking going insane. I've been going insane, got me going insane, got me going insane. I've been going insane, it got me going insane. I've been going insane, it got me going insane. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it.
Yo, what's good? This is Isaiah. How you doing? This is Eli. We are Dose, and you're on the Xander Effect.
Baby looking crazy, can we get a little crazy? Girl, in my mind so crazy, and I don't wanna see it, baby. Got all the girls out here hating, boys are you waiting? You know your body ain't playing. You know your body ain't playing. When I pull up, don't say a word. Captivate me with your body. Hypnotize me with your soul. My lucid dreams turn reality. I feel it. You know what you do to me. You know I can't get enough. Can't get enough. You know I can't get enough. Can't get enough. I wanna know if I'm feeling this right. And I wanna know if that look in your eyes says you want me. Come control me. Come and hold me. Emotions crazy, baby. When I pull up, don't say a word. Captivate me with your body. Hypnotize me with your soul. My lucid dreams turn reality. I feel it. You know what you do to me. You know I can't get enough. Can't get enough of your love. You know I can't get enough. Can't get enough. Baby looking crazy. Can we get a little crazy? Girl, my mind's so crazy. And I don't wanna see it, baby. Got all the girls out here hating. Me and my boys are you waiting? You know your body ain't playing. You know your body ain't playing. Can't get enough. Can't get enough of your love. Can't get enough.
That was Dose, Can't Get Enough, right here on the Xander Effect. In entertainment news, Taylor Swift was very vocal about a tweet that President Donald Trump had sent out in the past 24 hours. Basically, Trump went ahead and said that once the looting starts, the shooting starts, or something around to that effect. In regards to the protests and the current disturbances that are going on in Minnesota right now over the George Floyd incident that happened, over George Floyd's murder by the four Minnesota police officers that was caught on camera by many standing bystanders. So basically what happened was that shortly after that, there was a lot of protests. Police precinct was burned to the ground by the protesters, to which they went ahead and deployed over 500 National Guardsmen to the current situation out there that was starting to get a little bit out of control, out of hand, a little bit violent, what have you. And President Donald Trump went ahead and he tweeted something that a lot of people saw as inciting the violence, to which also Twitter went ahead and flagged his tweet, but didn't take it off. They didn't take down the tweet. They just flagged it, and underneath they basically said that Trump's tweet violated certain terminology, certain terms or whatever from Twitter's guidelines. Well, Taylor Swift went on Twitter and she tweeted in response to Donald Trump and saying, "After stoking the fires of white supremacy and racism your entire presidency, you have the nerve to feign moral superiority before threatening violence? When the looting starts, the shooting starts? We will vote you out in November at Real Donald Trump." So Taylor Swift, very vocal, very upset at President Trump's tweet. And of course, Taylor Swift has been kind of silent, politically speaking, basically since the 2018 midterms elections. she has just started since 2018 to speak out, politically, advocating for the Equality Act, and of course criticizing Republican Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn. But she was actually silent for much of that, before that, shortly during during the 2016 elections, and she got a lot of backlash after the 2016 elections. Basically, a lot of people were criticizing her for not endorsing a presidential candidate. They were also criticizing her for not publicly denouncing the white supremacist support she was receiving. So eventually she actually decided to speak on both those situations in her 2020 Netflix documentary Miss Americana. Basically, she said that she had mentioned that she had a mixture of public backlash she was receiving after the feud with Kim Kardashian West, and her team advised her not to, pretty much not risk losing any fans, and for speaking out about that. So that's why she kept quiet. But obviously she's not staying quiet anymore, and she's obviously expressing her disdain for President Donald Trump. So far Trump has not responded to the tweet, and who knows if he will, but knowing President Trump, he probably will make a mention of that. If not, he may be asked by reporters in regards to that tweet and his own tweet, obviously. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens soon. In other entertainment news, Ruby Rose has decided to somewhat open up about her exit of the series Batwoman. And the thing is that, as I reported in an earlier episode, she basically gave no reason at the time. There was a lot of speculation as to why she left. A lot of sources close to her basically were saying that she left because the schedule was too rigorous, and many other reasons. But Ruby Rose decided to go ahead and post on social media. She posted on Instagram with a video, basically a montage video of her as Batwoman and her exit. And she said, quote, "Thank you everyone for coming on this journey. If I mentioned everyone, it would be 1,000 tags. But thank you to the cast, crew, producers, and studio. It wasn't an easy decision, but those who know. I didn't want to not acknowledge everyone involved and how big this was for TV and for our community. I have stayed silent because that's my choice for now, but no, I adore you all. I'm sure next season will be amazing also." And she also went ahead and she put hangs up Cal and Kate. Also at Miss Marvel. So that is pretty much the only explanation she's given right now. Again, it wasn't a full explanation. It was more of a goodbye and a show of gratitude for the amazing support. But again, no real explanation as to why she's really leaving Batwoman. Maybe she'll come out and say it, in the coming months when she's ready to go. In other entertainment news, I had the opportunity to interview author, actress, fit model Wendy Stewart Kaplan. And man, she has an incredible story to tell of her journey from when she began as an archaeology major and how she crossed over from archaeology to modeling to acting to hosting to now being an author. And let me tell you, her story is incredible. But first, here are the FM's Implosion Model right here on the Xander Effect.
Patterns, perfect field, incinerate the atmosphere. development is insolently proclaimed by the President. If successful, radioactive poisoning of the atmosphere and annihilation of any life on Earth. They feel told this is the rate of technical possibility.
I made one great mistake in my life. When I signed the letter to President Roosevelt, recommending that the atom bombs be made.
So on the Xander Effect, I have Wendy Stewart Kaplan. She's an author, world-renowned fitness model, actress, TV host. My God, woman, you've done everything.
I have. I'd love to say I wear so many hats. And yeah, I have done everything because I'm a person. And you know what? I don't just dabble. I full out do it because I have a lot of interests, you know, and it takes a lot to satisfy my curiosity.
Well, I got to ask, how did these, like, all these, portions of your life begin? I mean, how did you get started in the industry of wanting to be an entertainer and everything?
Oh, well, that's a really easy question for me to answer. I majored in archaeology in college.
Wow. Talk about
right.
taking a real hard left turn on that one.
There you go. But I just, when I got out of school, I went and I lived in Nigeria, right? And if you read my book, She's the Last Model Standing, I opened up in Nigeria, right? Mm-hmm. Why do I bring that up? Because that was the thing that just opened up my mind and made me realize, hey, you know what? You can do anything in this life that you want to do. I found myself, gazillions of miles away in a country that was so different from the way I had grown up, and I loved every minute of it. And that's when it occurred to me, I want to experience as many different things as possible in life. And I had always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to be a model. I wanted to be an actress. My mom had been a model, and I grew up with all these incredible stories of glamour back in the days when she did it. My mother was 5th runner-up in the Miss America pageant. She was Miss Connecticut. I know. So as a kid, right, I grew up in the Bronx, and you hear all this stuff and it just sounds so glamorous. It's also fairy tale. So that had always been in the back of my mind. But, then I found myself thinking, you're not going to be able to do this. But again, that trip to Nigeria, I think it was like 20 years old. It just really turned me around and made me realize that you can do anything in this world that you want to do. And the rest is just history. I started going around to model agencies in New York, which again, if you read my book, oh my God, the things that they said to me, you cannot even imagine. The angles in your face don't match the angles in your body. I was about 15 pounds.
So pretty much what they were doing was they were just cutting you down before you even got started.
I love that you picked that up. That's exactly right. But what the heck made me keep going? That's the question. It was every model agency. The standing joke when I do speaking engagements, I tell kids this that are wanting to pursue modeling careers. I was the girl turned down by every model agency. And now, you know what? In retrospect, when I think about it, I didn't have typical looks that they wanted. there was nothing about me that really fit into a mold. You know, again, I wasn't super skinny, but it will show you, right, what determination and not giving up will do.
Well,
so yeah, I was turned down by everyone until one took me. So
well, that, and look how life has evolved. I mean, look at how you know, the way the modeling agency, yeah, it's still in the same sense, the same, you know, attitude. You have to be a certain size, but that's changing. That's evolving. Now you have women that are curvaceous, that
Yes, you
are
do.
proud of their bodies, and
Yes.
you know, they're models. They're actually models. You got plus size models, you got average size
Sure.
models. They're no longer conforming to one size, because in reality, you know, one size doesn't fit all. So
Thank you so much for saying that. That's exactly right. The agency I'm with, we have plus size. We do have a curvy division. I am actually just in the, you know, what they call middle American average size 8, right? I'm just like right in the middle. And then of course we have quote unquote fashion division, which those are like the size 2, 4 girls that are 5'10" on up. Then there's the petite division. But you are so right. It doesn't conform to what it used to conform to, because we all come in every different size and shape.
and that you know what, and that's actually something that, you know, even young women that are growing up need to, and I hope they're starting to understand that, you know, in reality, it doesn't matter your size. It's all about, you know, your confidence, your attitude, and how you treat others with both.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. I so totally agree.
And that's the important part of it. So that's really cool. So you went from okay, so I gotta ask you, because archaeology's always been something that's always fascinated me.
Oh, cool.
Since I was a kid, since I was watching Indiana Jones, it's always been something that I've always, you know, been fascinated with. Of course, that job doesn't pay anything unless you find something. So
No, it doesn't, and you need a PhD, and I was not willing to stay in school that long. So
oh man, but so how did you want? Why did you want to get into archaeology to begin with?
And I got to tell you, and we'll get to it, it comes full circle, because I'm now back in that area, and that's all of the story. But I wanted to get into it because, like you, I grew up with like Indiana Jones, Lara Croft, and it just excited me, the places, the exotic places they would go in the world, right? Remember, I told you I'm so curious about everything. They would go to places that were just so different. And, you know, I was a kid growing up in the Bronx. I loved dreaming, right, about what was out there for me, but still afraid, you know, still holding back. But I remember thinking, my gosh, that world out there really is attainable. And I, you know, when you're a kid in college, right, you're trying to think of the easiest way to do that. So I thought, all right, you know, I love antiquities. I love the study of old things. I love foreign places. So I thought archaeology and anthropology, I actually minored in anthropology too. That really seemed to encompass it. And sitting here talking to you now, it really makes me realize I hit the nail on the head with both of them. But then, you know, 360, I come back to New York from Nigeria, and I applied at the Museum of Natural History for like research assistants and all of that. And the only thing they offered me was to work a job in the bookstore. And I was not going to do that.
That's
and
so
then I was
messed
like,
up.
yeah, well, what else do you want to do? Oh, okay, I'll become a model. And the rest is history. I know, right? You're laughing.
And see, the thing with me is that I just, what fascinates me about archaeology are different things. Like, for example, does the Holy Grail exist? Is there a lost city of Atlantis? Is there, you know, the Fountain of Youth? Is there a chalice? Does the Garden of Eden actually exist? Those
and
are the
I can
things
answer yes to a lot of those things, and I can tell you why now. So along this whole path, right, modeling, acting, comedian, documentary filmmaker, I end up joining the Explorers Club, which in the world there's only 3,400 people. And here we are, we've come full circle. At that club, I am meeting the people that are doing the very kind of stuff that we're talking about.
Wow.
There's a guy that uncovered, there's a book he wrote about it. It's called The Lost City of the Monkey God. It's in Honduras. It's a city with artifacts made of gold, right?
Wow.
And he had heard the rumors of it. and he's a filmmaker, and he took a whole expedition team there in the hopes that they would find something, right? And this was like 12 years ago. And this is a good story about never giving up. So, they're in the jungle. They're not finding anything. They're getting eaten alive. It was tremendously expensive. He couldn't get any more funding to do it after that. And everyone said to him, give up. It's just a story, this lost city of the monkey god. But he had it in his head that it was there. So let's fast forward to 5 years ago. I have to share this with you. They invented a technology called lidar technology, where you could go up in a plane and put these coordinates into a computer, and it would show you what is below, not only the surface of the jungle, but what is in the ground below. Wow. And he did that. And he was able to prove, hey, it's down there. And he got funding, and he put the expedition together, and he ended up going there, and the artifacts that he found, and that there were temples underneath there. And it's a true story. It's called Lost City of the Monkey God. You can read about it. They made a movie about it. But the thing is here, right, because we're talking about determination, he never gave up. He never gave up, even when everyone said to him, that's just a tale, it doesn't exist. And the really great outcome of it really put a shining light on Honduras, a very poor country. They were able to excavate and get the artifacts, right? Those artifacts belong to them, not us. Yeah. And they opened a museum, which made them like national heroes. And when people go there, they can go and see the artifacts and hear about the expedition. And it's just a win-win, right, for the culture there and for everybody. So I love that story.
Wow, that's an incredible story.
Incredible.
These are the things, because I've watched movies, I've read about all these things that I mentioned, and I know that they exist. They have to exist.
Yes.
Why would people like make these stories up? There's to tell a good story. There's been scientific proof that the lost city of Atlantis somehow existed.
Absolutely.
And the Bermuda Triangle. It's a weird theory. Call me crazy, but it's a weird theory that.
I'll call you crazy. Tell me.
the Bermuda Triangle. We all know that anything that goes in there,
yes,
it gets lost. In my opinion, in my theory, I believe that the lost city left a device still active, and that device is still active to this day. And because that device is still active, that is what's causing these missing planes, missing ships, everything in the
Bermuda. Right, they just disappear.
Exactly, because when the city, because the thing is that the lost city was advanced, and many people believe that scientists were playing with forces they shouldn't have been playing with. And when they invent, kind of like now,
right,
and because they did that, the city sank into the ocean. And because it sank into the ocean, it left a lot of things still activated. So my theory is that scientists, they were testing something when the city sank, and they left that device still active to this day.
So you think it's an actual tangible device, right? Mm-hmm. That's down there, and it's causing ships to disappear, mm-hmm, and things to disappear in this triangle. That's what you believe, right?
Mm-hmm. That's my theory. That's just
okay.
That's
I have an even more far out theory for you. What if it were a parallel universe?
I was thinking that too. That it was a different dimension. I was thinking that too.
Stephen Hawking, a scientist, but he talked about parallel universes, right? And we all know, if you study, I make films about indigenous people. I've gone to those parts of the world, and I know the things they believe. And they're not the things that we believe in the Western culture. And they can back those things up, even without science, as you and I know it, okay? So what if it were actually a parallel universe, mm-hmm, and that black hole, that Bermuda Triangle, is where things disappear into? Because one thing I believe, that we have the parallel universes right here with us right now. You and I can't see them. We're not attuned to them. But what if they are there? Our eyes only have, for what we can see here in our quote unquote modern society. It's just food for thought. I think about that all the time.
You know what though? But you have a point, because I was actually, that was the second theory I had, is that it's a gateway to somewhere else, to a right, different dimension. And the other theory that I have is that Atlantis never sank. It was pulled into that different dimension, and that device is still on their end. Maybe to protect the city, maybe to guard from any outsiders from entering it. Who knows? Maybe because there's scientific stuff in there that nobody here should know about. Who knows? It could be any number of reasons why that's going on. But I believe in that as well, that possibly that Atlantis didn't sink. It was just pulled into whatever this place is.
Because of this device. So what you're saying is there's a tangible device that can actually cross universes.
Correct.
That's right.
Because they're doing that right now.
I love that.
Because they're doing, well, the thing is that they're doing that right now. Remember that a few years ago, they activated a device that pretty much breached it breached space time. I think it was all over the news. And
yes, I remember that. But then it was hushed up. They buried it.
See, but that's the thing. I mean, this show's not really about conspiracy theories or anything like that. But I mean, in talking about this, what if they shut it down because they opened something they weren't supposed to?
Sure, they opened up a door. They opened up a door to another universe.
Think about it. Shortly after that happened, a lot of very disastrous things started happening on our end. And it was shortly after that happened. So it could be a coincidence. I mean, it could very well be a coincidence, or maybe not. I mean, we don't know what. Again, sometimes science, they play with forces they should not be playing with.
Completely.
There are things in this universe that, for a reason. There's a reason why it hasn't been discovered yet, or there's a reason why it shouldn't be discovered yet, because we don't know what the consequences or what the repercussions of doing that might occur.
Well, I think we do know the repercussions, because here we sit, right, today. What is it, May 28th? You see, I've lost all sense of time.
Haven't we all?
You're right. And here we are, and take a look at what's happening in the world. I remember, right, when 9/11 happened, we said, I can't wrap my head around it, right? We couldn't conceive of it because it had never happened before. Mm-hmm. And then you go to now, all right? Come on, how is this happening? Our
doesn't make any sense.
Way of life has been turned inside out and upside down. And you know what? We're all smart, savvy people. If someone had said this to you, I'm going to say 4 months ago, because 3 months ago, we already knew about the virus. Not that you and I knew about it, but they knew, right? Mm-hmm. But 4 months ago, if someone told you this was coming down the pike, you would have said, oh, come on, it's a science fiction movie. That's, and here we are.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So that's
crazy.
So these are theories, but it just would make sense to a lot of things that are going on right now.
Right. I mean, exactly.
For all we know, this virus may have come from that other side. Who knows?
Well, seriously, you know what? I think of that. I'm the type of person to look under every rock. I'm a critical thinker and think about where it could have originated. But now there's all kinds of theories out there. We're all hearing. My latest is, how the heck do we get rid of this? Now I've started to read, because I've worked in Africa making films there, and particularly in Cameroon, we made a film called Whispers and Witnesses about rescuing primates from poachers. And it was such an interesting country. But while we were there, I took malaria pills, but a lot of people had malaria. Some of the people I interviewed there had typhoid. So I've been in places where this stuff exists. And the way it seems to work, there's an outbreak, right? An Ebola outbreak. We've never experienced outbreaks. What do we have here? A flu and the common cold in the winter. That's it. So I have to say to myself, okay, we are experiencing a massive outbreak, a horrible outbreak for the first time in any of our lives. And hopefully, if it is managed well, and you notice I say that, it will go back to where it came from, or at least will die off to a degree. I don't know.
God, I hope not. God.
But in the meantime, all of us, you and I, we have to get on out there. We have to keep on our lives as entertainers. I'm a person that's on stage. I'm a person that performs for live audiences, right? Here I am, once again in the corner of my couch on yet another platform, Zoom, Facebook Live. They're all out there. And I have to bring who I am and what I'm about to that platform and do the same entertaining without seeing people that I can feed off of. When you're on a stage, right, you have the audience and you take your cues from them and you react to them. So when this whole thing started coming down, I had been out for 3 nights in a row supporting friends, in New York here that were doing shows. There's a wonderful club called Pangea. That was my last night right before they the city down. And 3 days into this pandemic, all of a sudden I flipped out. I'm like, well, what the heck is going to happen to you? You know, you're booked for all of this stuff, which at that point had all been released, right? Because they canceled, everything was canceled. I am not the kind of girl that is going to take a cancellation. And
right.
I thought, well,
I definitely can't picture you as that type of girl.
right. But this is what was happening. So my husband, who shoots all of our documentary films, I said to him, I'm just going to come up with a show. And I thought, what would be the most absurd thing for me to come up with? A cooking show. Because I don't cook.
Nice.
I don't cook. And I literally, in 15 minutes, said to him, I'm going to order, like, they have, Fresh Direct has these meals that you can put together. So for first shot out of the bag, I thought, all right, I will get, you know, they send you the ingredients and you could do it. And it was, I think it was like spatchcook chicken or something like that. All the ingredients came in this enormous box. I opened the box and I'm like flipping out. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to chop vegetables. But that was our very first episode of Pandemic Cooking. And again, I make something to eat on the show. My recipes are easy. They're fun. But the show, which is, you can tune in on YouTube. It's Wendy Stewart TV. That'll take you right in. I have 39 episodes of Pandemic Cooking. And again, it's a comedy show. Yes, we make something. Yes, you can actually cook those recipes and you'll enjoy them. I taught myself how to do all of this, but it's really a comedy show. I'm a funny person. And the comments I get from people, besides making the recipes and enjoying them, they're like, you have no idea what you did for me today. I was feeling so hopeless. And then I turn on the show because, you know, I do characters on the show. Listen, I just did one. It was Pandemic Airlines, and I was dressed up like a flight attendant.
Oh no.
And I took you on a trip, a virtual trip on Pandemic Airlines. And I even went so far as the little dishes I made, they were served, you know, when you're on the airlines and you have the plastic dish with aluminum foil on top of it. Yes, I went that far.
I've only flown twice in my life, but I know what you're talking about.
Right, but you know, it's airplane food. Everyone always makes fun of it. And that's what I put on there, and you know, I showed people how to make the things that we had there. I forgot even what I made, but I was in this crazy flight attendant outfit that you got at a party store, you know, the really sexy ones.
Yeah.
No, really trashy, but people had such a good time with that show. I even had one of my passengers get locked in the bathroom, you know, and I was like, sir, you have to get back to your seat now.
Nice.
We had a good time, and that's what it's about. And all of the segments, you can tune in. You can find me on YouTube and Pandemic Cooking with Wendy under Wendy Stewart TV. I am there to keep you laughing. I am there to raise your spirits during this time. That's what I do.
And that's what's important, actually, to go ahead and be able to do something like that for a lot of people that are stuck at home that are going crazy.
It's to have my friends, all my friends, you know?
Yeah, that's the way it goes. So I got to ask you, you know, you went from modeling and then you went into acting, obviously. So how did you get started into acting? How did you cross over?
Well, natural progression. So have you heard of Trauma Productions?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God, they are like, Lloyd Kaufman is the king of B films. And they had a film that's very famous called Toxic Avenger. You can Google that.
Toxic Avenger. I remember Toxic Avenger.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Well, that's Trauma.
They even did a cartoon series after that I used to watch when I was a kid.
I'm telling you, Trauma is unbelievable. But they hired me to be in a movie. They didn't seem to care that I had no acting experience. That should have been the dead giveaway. And it was called Squeeze Play. It was about a girls' softball team. And I only had a couple of lines in that film. The one thing I remember is we had a lot of wet t-shirt contests. And I remember Lloyd Kaufman, the director, yelling, hose them down. I used to, right? You would be like, they would feed you like bologna sandwiches and little Debbie cakes. And they were non-union jobs. You know, you would work a 12-hour day with a 6-hour turnaround.
And of course, their mentality is that sex sells. That's for ergo the wet t-shirts.
Right, and it wasn't, I tell you, it wasn't even like, it was a bunch of young girls in wet t-shirts and these wet t-shirt contests that I can't even remember who would end up winning them, but all I remember was I would hear those words, hose them down, and I would say to myself, oh no, here comes the water. But that's how I got my start, and then I start from that. I got into a couple of other movies. I was able to get my card, my Screen Actors Guild card, and then I did commercials, started doing theater. So yeah, it was a natural progression, and I found that I just absolutely loved it. I loved being on set. I loved being on stage, because think about it. If I go to a remote part of the world to make a film, I'm having a fantasy, right? Mm-hmm. What could be better than being an actor, and your whole life is fantasy? You're taking on characters all the time. The people that you're performing with, they're in the same fantasy with you. It really is an amazing thing.
No doubt.
Completely gratifying. Yeah, so that, it was a natural progression to all of that. And here's the thing, though, that about me. I have since, I've expanded. I make films now. I do a lot of avant-garde theater too now, that's all new for me. But I just keep adding to that poo-poo platter of skills. And I have to tell you, I haven't given up one thing. I've been doing this for 38 years. That's a really long time of being employed in the entertainment industry. And honestly, that is all I've ever done. And that's all I ever want to do.
And from there, obviously, you went from just acting in movies to hosting.
Yes. So
how did that gig come about?
I have a quirky personality. I'm sure you could tell.
No, get out of here! Shut.
Okay, so I would be out. People knew me from Studio 54. I became a personality. Mm-hmm. And when you're a personality, people often want you to host parties. So, you're the person that makes everybody feel great at the party, because, again, I told you I have no filter. I'll talk to anybody about anything because I'm interested in everybody and everything. That's just my personality. And, I could carry on my husband loves to say this. I've been hired as a host for corporate clients, right? When they want to beef up their image, make it a little bit more fun. And then I'm given a CEO to interview, and no personality, nothing. And very shut down as a person, doesn't really want to share anything. So you know what?
I've had interviewees like that.
Right. Yeah. I call it the dead guest.
Yeah.
All right. I had this happen on a home shopping channel one time, and they had no criteria for time. I think it was 1:00 in the morning. And I remember
and I'm sorry to cut you. Yeah. And just so you know, I'm glad that you went ahead and touched on that. And I'm glad that you go ahead and put a name to that, because I've been doing this for a long time myself. I've been doing this for many years.
Cool. So right.
Yeah. I've been interviewing people for the longest time. And that's the best description I could have, because I've had interviewees that I've talked to that don't give me nothing. So yeah, I love that term, the dead guest. I love that.
I call it, right. So
it's perfect.
On this home shopping thing, it's 1:00 in the morning. I had a dead guest propped up in a chair. Oh, I was bone tired. We had already been working for 6 hours. And I remember this, the producer came over and she looked at me and she said, "You have to give me more energy." Mm-hmm. And I looked at her and I said, "You have to take that corpse that you gave me and get me something to work with here." I said, because I have a ton of energy no matter what time.
Yep.
Excuse me. But I am very skilled at embellishing, right? My guests, you can get somebody in corporate, and your job is to make them look as great, make them look fun. And I'm an instinctive person. I'll try and hit on a chord in someone, and then just the interview won't be what I prepared, because what I prepared won't really work for that person. I have their backstory. Right. And I work with whoever is in front of me. And I got to be honest with you, I totally enjoy it. As a matter of fact, the dead guest is a challenge. Look, we can all get live wires. We can all get people like you and me that are, great. We love to talk. We know a lot of stuff. But when you get somebody that doesn't have anything to say or has an attitude, I'm sure you've had that happen.
I've actually been very blessed that, in the times that I've interviewed many people, I've really never had anybody with an attitude.
Well, that's good.
I've actually been very blessed about that, because I guess, well, I mean, I also have this, I've been told I have a very intimidating look about me that
I'm looking at your still right now. You do.
I have this, I guess, and it's so funny because for the longest time, people have always been saying like, why are you mad? Why are you angry? I'm like, I'm not mad. This is just the way I look, you know?
It's funny. I accuse my husband of that all the time, by the way. He's like, this is just my face.
Yeah.
And I'm like, go look in the
can't do
mirror.
it.
You look angry.
Yeah,
What are you
like,
angry?
I can't do anything about that, you know? Like, I guess that's the reason why I'm always, I'm always cracking jokes. I'm always like, saying, funny things because I just don't want people to think that I'm a jerk. You know?
Right.
I don't want
Well,
people to
no,
think that I'm not, because I'm not, and so I just have that look about me. So I'm assuming that that's probably the reason why a lot of my guests don't even try that with me, because they might think, okay, if I do this by the way this guy looks, he's probably gonna kill me. So
Right.
I don't want to even try it with this guy right now. And it's so funny because it's like, don't get me wrong. When a person has an attitude, I'm as professional as can be. I never, go ahead and try to match attitude for attitude. That's not.
I never would either.
Yeah,
I would
because
never do that.
that's not my style. If they want to go ahead and have the audience or the public perceive them a certain way, that's on them.
Yes.
I'm not going to go ahead and add on to that and have them be like, wow, you sunk to their level. Why would you do that? And that's not my style. And
Right.
so, but yeah, thank God, like I have not yet, had anybody with an attitude on the show so far yet, or in my past interviews, I haven't had that either. So I've been very blessed by that,
It's great. I mean, you know what, to have good guests. And for me, that's how the whole hosting thing really started, with corporate interviews and then home shopping. And then, now I can do panels. I love doing panels because you have all different personalities there, right? And sometimes you can get like a really good conversation going. And you have to figure out, it's kind of like driving a car, right? You get what I'm saying. If you have 5 people on that panel, you have to really orchestrate between all of them,
Otherwise it becomes chaos.
You're right. Or it becomes like Zoom, where
tell me
everybody's
about it.
talking at once, right?
Yeah, tell me about it. No,
Where
it's crazy.
everyone's talking at once.
I gotta ask you. I actually read that you bantered with Katie Couric. How is that like? Talk to me a little bit about that. I'm sure there's a story behind that.
Oh, so Katie Couric was actually terrific. Okay. Frequently, because I am a personality, I get booked as that. I'm an influencer. So they needed someone on that show with some knowledge about antiques. But, when you get booked on a show like that, they just don't want something like dry. They want a delivery. They want an interesting backstory. So I went on there and I had a particular antique. It was some kind of box that had a really great worth to it, but it looked like, an antique piece of garbage, right? Like something you'd find in an attic. And it was up to there were other experts on the show that had to guess the worth of that box. And, I gave them clues and things like that. And Katie, she was just terrific. She's warm. She's funny. She was very engaging. But again, we're talking about antiques, right? We're not talking politics or anything. We're talking about old stuff. And she was so good to everybody. And the funny thing was, nobody guessed the worth of the article that I had. They couldn't guess it. And it was worth something like $2,000. It was a tile. It was a Minton tile. And it looked like a piece of chipped garbage. But, there you go. And it was a great segment. What makes a great segment? You had 2 experts there, and then you had me, the person with a tile. That could be very boring. Someone comes on with a tile unless I had found out the history of the tile. It came from an old admiral's mansion in England, and I had picked it up at a flea market. With a bunch of other tiles at like 6 o'clock in the morning, because here in New York, we used to have a flea market that if you wanted the good stuff, and you probably know this where you are too, if you're going to a flea market that specializes in antiques, you better get there when they're unloading the trucks. That's when the good stuff is on.
That's very true.
Right. And my husband and I were there, and there was this box of tiles, and I said to him, listen, we should go for it. And it turns out these tiles came from they're Minton tiles. They came from an admiral's house in England, and they were a rare tile. And prior to going on Katie's show, I had actually taken them over to somebody to give me an appraisal at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And we found out we had these valuable tiles. I think we spent $500 for the whole box of them. So great story, right?
Wow.
Really great story.
Wow.
So yeah, that was my experience with Katie Couric, and she was just absolutely terrific. I've been, oh my God, I've been a guest on Jerry Springer, Geraldo Rivera.
Jerry Springer? What exactly?
I am not kidding you.
What were you doing on Jerry Springer?
Well, okay, at that time he was still out of Cincinnati, and he was, they weren't killing themselves, and it wasn't about baby mamas then.
I was gonna say, I'm like, what did you do? Did you like?
No, it wasn't. He was the nicest guy. He was broadcasting out of Cincinnati. And I knew somebody that was working at the show. She said, listen, so I have a weird relationship with my parrot. And she's like, I would love to do a segment on you. I'm like, great. So she calls me up and she said, would you want to come on Jerry Springer? We'll fly you to Cincinnati. And the segment would be My Parrot is Ruining My Life. And it was about how, but you know what? It was true that we still have her, by the way. We've had her 38 years. But
parrots last a very long time.
Oh my God, we're only into year 38. My husband and I mark the calendar.
Don't parrots usually last about 100 years?
Gofin's cockatoos, which is what she is, she'll be alive like 60 years. So it's 38 years. You do the math. I've never been good at math, but yeah, we got a long ways to go. So so the bird, it was very skittish, and I'm like, you know what? I am not going to take her on the show with me, but I had enough confidence in myself that I knew I could pull it off. We made a video of her. I would sing that song, da, 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 and she would dance to it. Aww. So the segment, so we showed the video of me singing and her dancing. And Jerry put that up. It was the opening to the show. And the audience, of course, was clapping. My bird is one of the famous birds on YouTube, dancing YouTube birds. She's gotten so many hits, Louise. So Louise didn't come on the show per se, but she was in the film. And Jerry loved it and proceeded to ask me, like, I don't know, if I was sleeping in bed with my husband where it was a bird, and so I would say, oh, well, sometimes she's between us. And of course, he would make a lewd and lascivious joke about that.
Of course.
But it was a very fun segment. And then, of course, I didn't tell you this. When I flew there to do that segment, I was 7 months pregnant. And wow. The biggest joke was the bird would nest on my stomach because she thought that was the egg, the giant egg.
That's
I know, it's
awesome.
Great, right?
That's so
and
adorable.
The audience
awesome.
totally loved that. And this is the coolest thing. When my daughter was born, and don't think I'm crazy, the bird was so gentle with her. She would lean over and groom her eyelashes.
Animals,
and I knew she would never bite her.
Yeah,
never bite her.
Animals are the most
they know
creatures on this planet. They know. I mean, there was just recently a news about this child that a bear was like right behind this child. And the thing is that by looking at it, it didn't seem like the bear wanted to attack the child.
Right.
Because the bear saw that it was just a little person. It wasn't an adult. And animals instinctively know when they're children, right. When they're not predators, obviously. And a bear's not a predator. A bear, they only attack if provoked. They're not predators.
Right, and they eat what they eat because they're living their best bear life.
Exactly. I mean, right. for that matter, we should be called predators because we're carnivores as well. So I mean,
absolutely.
We can't call them that. So, but the thing, I mean, you've never heard of a bear, eat a human. They've mauled humans, but they've never eaten a human.
Right.
And so that's what I'm saying. And so by what the footage from what I can gather, it didn't seem like the bear was going to attack the child. It seemed like it wanted to play with the child. Or it wanted to kind of look at it like, hey, you're small, I'm not gonna.
Well, like a cub, baby.
Exactly,
the bear
exactly.
Might conceive the child of the cub.
That's what I was getting to. Is that it's possible that maybe the bear actually probably thought that the child was a cub, and
yes.
Because it was so small. So animals, they instinctively know when they're not predators, they instinctively know to not harm a human being because they feel that the humans are just like them. They're to them we're probably animals.
Exactly.
They wouldn't be far off on that either.
Totally agree with you on that. When we went to Cameroon to make whispers and witnesses about primate rescue, my husband and myself, we were like 8 feet from a gorilla that did not like me, so I backed off. But my husband, the whole time he stood there, the gorilla was perfectly fine. Alan, he stands, I always kid him, he stands like a gorilla. He wears a black cap. He dresses in all black. And I really do believe that gorilla connected with him on that level. as there was a chimp that I met that was fascinated by the hair clip I had in my hair and started grooming herself and pointing to where I had the hair clip on my hair and then pointing to her own head. She wanted me to give that to her.
That's
They are
awesome.
so much like us.
Yes.
And I think gorillas and chimpanzees, they share at least 95% of our DNA that's known. And, the things that you hear, you brought up a very good point. When animals attack, they are often provoked. They need a really good reason. I wish human beings were that way, right? That it was just on being provoked and not just out of mean-spiritedness.
I mean, it's one of those things where when people, like when this pandemic was going on, suddenly there was the news about these murder hornets or whatever, these poisonous hornets and everything.
What's that about? Wow.
Here's the thing, and everybody was freaking out. Oh, great, now comes the murder hornets. It's like hornets are just like any other animal. If you provoke them, they're gonna attack you. If you go anywhere near their nest, they're gonna attack you because they're protecting their own. If you don't go near them, if you don't provoke them, they're not gonna come after you. They're not gonna target you. Like animals, they don't target people. They only attack when provoked. That's it. And so people are freaking out. It's like, just don't go near a hornet. Just don't go near a hornet's nest.
It's common sense. Are you gonna tease yellow jackets or bees? When I'm out in Pennsylvania, I'm not going to taunt a bee or a yellow jacket. As a matter of fact, if anything lands on me or even near me like that, I very quietly move myself out of the way. I don't want to make them angry.
Exactly.
It's just common sense.
Because animals are very sensitive like that.
Yes.
So we need to. In all honesty, we're on their turf. They're not on ours.
Well, thank you for understanding that. But, we're encroaching on their turf. And it goes back to this pandemic. I read this the other day, that they're expecting, that there is a likelihood of more pandemics because their habitat's being destroyed.
Oh, yeah. And
that's, what? That's all over the world. Why are gorillas and chimpanzees being poached? And then why do they end up in a rescue center? And that's what my film was about. Rescue centers? Well, because the forests are being decimated. The Amazon, they're taking down the trees. The loggers are coming in there and doing that. Where are these animals going to go? And what kind of things? What do they call those? Is it zoogens? Zoogens, which are the diseases, right? That stayed in the animal world that are now crossing over to us. They really do predict that that's going to happen in a big way. We got to think about what we're doing. We really do.
And I agree with that because in one of my episodes, and I always bring this episode up because when this pandemic first began, my thing was that the world needed a reset. Like we all needed a reset, and having people stay indoors has helped the planet, has helped the environment. In many ways. I mean, there's ozone layers that have closed up on their own. The rivers in Italy, they got so clear you could actually see to the bottom of them. I mean, animals were able to come out in neighborhoods because, you
saw the film in Italy, in Milan, wild boars running down the street.
Yeah, because in
Milan, in a city, I love that.
This is their land. They were here before we were. And so we're the ones that have invaded their land. And, we can't respect them. We can't live in harmony with them because we're the real animals, not them.
Yes, at the end of the day, it's going to be very interesting to see, like you said, it's a wake-up call, but what's going to happen going forward? Everybody wants to, quote unquote, get back to their old life, or the phrase that's really, that I'm not loving these days is this new normal.
I hate that term
exactly,
too.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on, what is this new normal?
I think that's just a trendy. I think that's just a word that wanted to trend, that people just made up to start trending, because that's. I mean, it's like, dude, this isn't a new normal. This is just a different lifestyle.
It's a different lifestyle, and the point you brought up about becoming aware of rivers flowing again, animals going back to the territory. I can tell you here in New York, the one thing I noticed, because transportation got completely cut, right? Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of cars. The buses are on an abbreviated schedule here. Taxis are few and far between. And people, few and far between. I'm talking to you about New York City. Yesterday, I walked 40 blocks from Times Square up to the Upper East Side, 40 blocks, and it was so sparse. But I'll tell you something. The air smelled cleaner. I wake up with my window open and I fall back asleep, something I never did, because it's like waking up in the mountains. And I cannot believe I'm saying this about New York City, but that's how it is now. It is really unbelievable.
Oh,
so yeah, it's a big wake-up call.
It's the same thing here in Los Angeles as well, because I mean, you know, LA is famous for smog.
Yes.
And since the pandemic, people have been taking pictures of the atmosphere, clear skies, clean air. I mean, you can really see how man has a negative effect on the environment. And
exactly.
Scientists use this to prove that we need to make changes. Otherwise, we're destroying this planet. We're destroying everything in it as it is. We're destroying it. And we need to make some serious changes. And in a sense, that's the reason why I said that this pandemic there were many silver linings to this pandemic. One of them was environment. You know, one of them was the fact of the matter that we were able to see. I mean, it sucks because we're pretty much a petri dish right now, and we're trying to go ahead and see exactly how this experiment's going. So far, it would seem that this experiment is exactly the way many people figured, that without the interference of man, the earth could actually heal itself. But now with man being integrated back in again, it just depends on how we're going to go about it at this point, because
we have to hope then. We have to hope that going forward,
it's a long shot.
It's a long shot, because I have to tell you, up until this point, let's go back to September, October, right? They outlawed plastic bags in New York, right?
They did the same thing here.
Yeah. The big joke now being there's more plastic than ever being thrown around because of the gloves and everything else, right?
Here they didn't outlaw them so much as charge 10 cents per plastic bag.
Right. And here they either weren't giving them out, you had to take paper, or I think Rite Aid was charging 5 cents. But okay, we had the plastic bag thing. And then we had, I'm very involved with climate change. I go to lots of seminars at the Explorers Club about it. It really interests me. I have a lot of friends that study it, that are scientists. And I have to tell you, not to be gloom and doom, but the things I've heard would set your ears on fire. And it's been ignored, certainly in our society at the top, where it could be given to people as something that is actually happening. One of the great divisions right now in our country is we have people that know that this is happening and want to do something about it. And then we have another ilk of person that doesn't believe in it at all. How could that be when it's a reality? And I think, to your point, maybe this pandemic will be a wake-up call for people. They see things are starting to come back, and there'll be more scientific research done on it. And maybe we'll get more believers, that, yes, climate change is actually happening. And if we want to save our planet, this is what we, the people, have to do. It's up to every one of us, right? I tell people this all the time. There isn't a they. There is just you and me.
Agreed. And I completely agree with that. And here's hoping. That's all I can say is here's hoping that we actually get somewhere. So aside from acting and everything, I'm a little intimidated by you, because
don't.
Hold on. The reason why is because I also understand that you studied voodoo in Nigeria.
Right. So you're adorable. I'm not going to do anything to you. You're perfectly safe with me. But, again, we go back to traditional medicine, right? Fascinated me. Saw things I lived in a village called Ife in Nigeria, and was very lucky to go to a lot of festivals. I had an amazing friend there, a guy from the Yoruba, and his name was Jide Abegunde, and his grandfather was a well-known traditional doctor. And I saw things there that you couldn't explain. I saw people healed from things that were not, it was not something that fits into scientific knowledge. Mm-hmm. So again, I bring up to you parallel universes. Is it voodoo, or is it a belief in someone's mind, right? Can that belief be so strong in a deity, right? I studied Shango, the god of thunder. if a person believes in Shango so much, can Shango heal them of cancer, of an open wound? You have to ask yourself that, because I saw things that could not be explained at all. And again, we're back to the parallel universe thing. All roads lead to Rome with me. We got it, it's out there. I've seen it. And I've had this discussion. Again, I know a lot of scientists who find me terribly amusing and they love to hear my stories, but they're scientists and they don't quite buy it. But I've traveled so much and I've seen so many things that can't be explained that I have to say, you have to go with it. Call it voodoo. I call it traditional medicine. It definitely exists. It can't be denied. And it is something, it's not just in Africa. You go to South America, the traditional people there follow their own beliefs there. I've been to Guatemala, and the Indian population there, they follow their own set of beliefs there as well. These people wouldn't be following this stuff unless it worked.
Correct.
They wouldn't be doing it. I mean, and you know what? I think we need to open our minds, because here, we're not doing so terrific to begin with. We're really not. And I think you have to be an open-minded person. But you know what? That's just my take on it. So don't be intimidated by me. I'm not gonna take out a doll and stick pins in it or anything.
Oh God, I hope not.
No, never.
Because I'm sure I have a couple of exes that are already doing that for me anyway. So
really, I have one person in particular that I would like to do that with, an expert that he has worked his way into my comedy act too. I talk about him all the time, and I think if I were going to do that, it would be with him. But you know what? I'm a nice girl. I put out good energy. It's all about positive stuff with me at the end of the day.
Well, and speaking of positive stuff, you went ahead and you became also in midst of all this, you also became a fitness model. How did, I'm assuming that because of your travels, that also inspired you to get into fitness.
Well, I have to tell you, so when I tell people I'm a fit model, FIT, frequently, and when I'm interviewed, they're like, so how did you become a fitness model? So a fitness model is somebody that lifts weights and does all of that. And I do, by the way, to keep myself in shape. But a fit model, it's the weirdest job in the world. And I have to tell you what it is that I do. When you go into the store, or your girlfriend or wife or your mom goes into the store, she probably has a designer whose clothes she really likes. And she likes those clothes because, maybe she's not a perfect body. Maybe, people have different proportions, but she'll put those clothes on and those clothes make her feel good, right? We all feel that way. When something makes us feel good, we want to wear it. It's the first thing that we pull out of our closet. So I work with designers to make their clothing fit regular women. So that makes me a fit model. Now, what exactly is a fit model? I am a size 8, which is a pretty standard size in the industry. And when I work with a designer, she'll frequently have a sketch of what she wants her design to look like. And often that sketch is a beautiful garment that was on a 16-year-old girl, size 2, 6 feet tall, on a runway in Paris. How does that translate to the American market? Well, it doesn't, because most people aren't that. My job is to take that garment and translate it. And by that, I mean, help her make it the right measurements so it fits me really nice. And by the time they make it slightly bigger, slightly smaller, a lot bigger, or a lot smaller, it looks good on that other person too. So I like to tell people I cover the asses of the masses. When you put on pants that I have tried, that I have fit, I make sure that when you're sitting on that bar stool having your cocktail and you lean over, nobody is going to see any plumber's butt on you. Okay. Nice. It's a real talent to be able to do that. And that's what a fit model does. For instance, just describe to me what you're wearing today.
Oh, I'd rather not.
But no, right. You have a t-shirt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very casual. I'm very casual. It's just a V-neck t-shirt with shorts. You have a V-neck
t-shirt. When you said that, I was afraid like you were in your undies.
No.
It's like on Zoom, people wear things on top and then they're in their underwear on the bottom. Okay, so you have on a V-neck t-shirt. That's a good example, and I'm glad you told me that. If I make a V-neck for a woman, right? I don't do it for you. I'm not a guy, but I make a V-neck for a woman. I have to make sure, especially with a more conservative customer, that V doesn't go so low. So I know that for most people that are a little more conservative, that V neck has to be 6.5 inches from where the hollow is in their neck. You get what I'm saying? That's where the V has to be. More sexy customer, younger customer, she might want that V at like 7.5 inches because she wants to show a little cleavage.
Obviously.
So I think that's a good example of the kind of thing that I do. And I work for some major brands. Eileen Fisher is a major brand that I work with. I do their knits for them as well as other items. And I work for Neiman Marcus. I work for Lord & Taylor, J.C. Penney, may they rest in peace. It's terrible what's happening in my industry.
I know.
Well, I do work for Walmart, a lot of sportswear companies, outerwear companies, bathing suits. I really do it all. I leave no stone unturned. I have a lot of experience in that area. And you know what? When a woman tells me that it's just like my show, Pandemic Cooking. When they tell me I've made them laugh and that they feel good, it's the same thing with the fit modeling. When they tell me they like the way a designer's fit is, that they put that on and they feel beautiful in that garment, well, guess what? Then I know I did a good job.
And you know what? I mean, now I just learned something new today. I learned the difference between fit and fitness. So there you go.
Exactly.
I'm going to learn something new. No, that's really awesome. And obviously you have a lot to say in your book. I mean, because after all these adventures, after all these things you've gone to, been through, experienced, witnessed, etc., you went ahead and you wrote "She's the Last Model Standing."
I did. You know what? It's such a metaphor because if you get, I seriously, I have to get my book to you, or if you can pick it up, because it's a metaphor for a lot of things. The last model standing, meaning no matter what happened to me in my life, not only am I still here, in every chapter in that book, from moving to New York, from being turned down by every model agency, from trying to be discovered at Studio 54, from starting in B films, from having every horrible part-time job that you could ever think of, from being dressed up in a chicken suit on a corner, handing out menus for a new restaurant, and men walking past saying nice breasts. Believe me, I worked every bad job that you could think of. I was in a Japanese piano bar and I was called Wendy's-san. My job was to entertain customers, take their song requests, find out, if they were enjoying their drink, how they liked New York. Problem with the customers, none of them spoke any English. It was such a challenge to keep that conversation going. Believe me, that was tougher than the dead guest, okay? But my book is about, hope, and it's about inspiration. All of my chapters, somebody said this to me. Every chapter in that book, Wendy comes out smelling like a rose, no matter how bad it was. And believe me, things, often got bad. The rejection, and you know this, you're an entertainer. The rejection in our industry can eat away at your ego. It can depress you.
Yeah. Very much so.
It can take your self-worth away. The amount of people in our industry that go through depression, that can't function half the time because of what other people in the industry do to them. That wasn't me.
The frustration starts eating at you.
Right.
A lot.
And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do my thing no matter what. And I'm doing my thing. That's what it's about. It is interesting now, these documentary films. What, people say to me, well, what made you, you went to Africa when you're in your 20s, now, X amount of years later, you're back there again. Well, it came full circle for me because I had auditioned I never even got to the audition. And I know you know this, you're submitted on something. And there was a show they were doing on Animal Planet called Ms. Adventure. And I had all the qualifications. I was great on camera. I had already started to film in different parts of the world. I had done some filming down in the Amazon, talking about the disappearing animals down there. I've had leeches on me. I've done all of that. So I submit myself for this show, Ms. Adventure, and I'm waiting to hear. And I thought, surely, there's nobody out there qualified. Well, what I learned, they didn't pick a qualified person. They didn't pick a person that had my background. They picked somebody, and this is a running theme throughout my book, size 2, 26 years old, Little Miss Perfect everything, right? But that's been with me since the beginning, from being turned down by every model agency. But instead of sitting there and licking my wounds, I said to my husband, who's an amazing photographer, I'm like, the heck with this. We have the capability to start shooting our own stuff. And fast forward to now, I've been doing small segments, large segments, and we've got 3 films out there based on my rejection from Ms. Adventure. I am now the on-camera host for everything I do. I produce the films, I find the locations, I put the crews together, and in terms of script, I write very light scripts because for me, it's much better for me to be, the girl on the street. I like to react to what is exactly happening in front of me. So yeah, I'm doing my thing. And that is very clear in my book. It tells you no matter what, you have to keep on going.
That's actually that's inspiring. That's actually inspiring, and that's something that many people have to continue to put that in their heads. Sometimes I have to remind myself of that as well, because it's not easy out there. And
it's
and going back really quick, I have to ask, because you brought this up twice already about you in Studio 54. I got to ask you, how was that experience like, being at the club that nobody could get into?
Well, I thought you would never ask. I love talking about it, and I've done so many interviews on it, because there's so many people that are so young, they were not even born when Studio 54 was around.
I mean, I saw the movie, and
you saw the movie.
My dad heard about it because my dad lived in New York, so he had heard about it, but he never went to it. But I saw the movie, I heard stories, but I never it's really very rare you find somebody that was actually there.
Yeah, well, not only was I there all the time. I was there Thursday nights and Sunday nights. I had my crew of friends that I would go with. Somebody asked me, what was it like the first time you went? Here we go, that rejection again. Mark Beneke, who was the door guy, took a look at me and my little polyester dress and open-toed shoes in January, right? I had just gotten out of college, and I didn't know what I was thinking that made me think I would get in there. And he took one look at me, and I remember I was there yelling, Mark, waving my hand, and he parted that rope, but not for me. I took a look around, and people were dressed like funky and in costume, and the socialites were dressed to the nines. And there I was, little Wendy from the Bronx in her polyester dress. I wasn't getting in. Then I tried to get in again. This time it was like a green dress that had all pulled threads on it. Didn't get in the second time either. And I said to myself, okay, you got it. That song from Gypsy, you got to have a gimmick. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I there used to be a ballet store called Capizio, and I went in there and I bought ballet tutus and leg warmers, similar dress from like that movie Flashdance. Mm-hmm. And I dressed like that, and everything was pink. I had pink ballet slippers on and a pink leotard and a pink ballet tutu.
You had to stand out. I
did. And I froze to death out in front there. I didn't take a jacket. I just wanted him to see me. And he let me in. And then after that, I dressed in all kinds of crazy, funky outfits. I always got in. And then, of course, I added my entourage to it. We, some of my boys would be in drag. We always got in. And one night in particular, I love telling people about, I saw Andy Warhol looking at me, and I hadn't been introduced to him at that point, and I forgot who made the introduction. It was very easy to be like me. I wasn't anybody, but you could rub shoulders with people that were somebody. Mm-hmm. And somebody got me into the VIP lounge because Andy wanted to talk to me, and we were talking, and he told me, I started speaking about films. He spoke very slow. He was hard to carry on a conversation with. Believe me, you or I having him on our show, that would be tough. We'd be pulling teeth on that one. But he told me he was making a movie with Joe D'Alessandro, and I was very pretty. Did I want to be in the movie? And I said, well, how? In those days, you ask so stupid things. Like, we would never ask this now, but I said to him, well, how much is it paying? Right? And he said to me, he would pay me with a painting, that he was a well-known artist. I'm like, yeah, I know who you are. You're the guy with the soup cans. Oh, my God. I think of this stuff now, and I'm like, how could you have ever said that? I'm horrified. those are the things you say when you're young and naive.
When you don't know any
And he
better.
offered to pay me with a painting, and I said no. I said I don't want a painting. I
Oh
want
my
to get
God! Could you imagine
Hey.
if you would have gotten it today? How much
Right.
that painting would have been worth?
I know. I would be like living large now, wouldn't I? And he, Ultraviolet was there. And the whole scene, honestly, was very intimidating. I don't, now I wouldn't be, but, back in those days, and I'm sure this is something you've experienced too, being a performer, you
Oh,
tend to think,
I was a Hollywood club promoter for over 10 years. So
so you were
I know.
you got the whole thing right.
Yeah.
So you got what it is, and suddenly you start to really think you're not worthy. Oh my God, they must know that I shouldn't really be here. And that's a very bad thing to think about oneself. I don't go there now at all. I'm definitely not that person. But back in those days, I definitely was. And thought I wasn't worthy and just wanted to get away. But yeah, that was my story with Andy. And of course, the rest is history. Joe D'Alessandro went on to become a very famous porn star. Everybody knows who Ultraviolet is. Andy Warhol and the Factory are well known everywhere. And poor Andy, he died from a gallbladder operation, and a nurse that did some mess up with him. So funny how life turns out, huh?
It's
At
crazy.
the end of the day, you can just be taken out like that. You wouldn't think so, but there you have it. But you know what? I love sitting here and talking to you about it. I was in the New York Post under a columnist, Earl Wilson, wrote a whole story about me. He called it She Dances Alone. I was known for, after this whole ballet tutu thing, I have no professional dance training. This is what you need to know. I don't know where the ballet character came from, but maybe I always, in my fantasy, imagined myself with Baryshnikov. I would go to the dance floor. I'd be there all night. And then people would start to leave at 3:00. And between 3:00 and 4:30 in the morning, I would spin and twirl and dance on the dance floor all by myself. And Earl Wilson wrote an article on me called She Dances Alone. And to this day, it's something that I treasure, just, getting that kind of recognition. And God, New York has changed so much since then. Your dad, of course, will tell you. And I miss those times terribly. However, this is so interesting that you brought up that you were a club promoter. January 24th, in the last year, in addition to everything I'm doing, that X I was telling you about that I want to make a voodoo doll of, we had started to promote events in clubs. And January 24th, I decided to do an event called the Extravaganza. And I ended up meeting another amazing guy. His name is Nick Lyon. And the X, and we decided we were going to do this big event. Well, Nick is really the one that ended up producing the event with me. We wanted a Studio 54 style event, and we had over 300 people here. And let me tell you how we did our guests. Besides inviting our close friends, for a month before this, and as a promoter, you can totally get into this. We went out 3 to 4 nights a week to every kind of event that you can go to in New York, right? Because Facebook tells you. Back in the day, you didn't have that. Now Facebook tells you. We would mark these events. We would go there. We'd make a minimum investment of a couple of cocktails each, and we would meet everybody. And I had cards made up, and I would invite them to this extravaganza. The night, I have to tell you, the night of the party was beyond spectacular. January 24th of this year, people are still talking about it. It went down in history as one of the great events. And again, being a promoter, you can totally get what
I can relate to it too.
Right. And we had all these plans, Nick and I, going forward. We were going to do a huge party in March. And believe me, I'm adding this into everything else I'm doing. I'm a people person. I'm out there. All of us know a gazillion people. Let's have an amazing night that we can create for all of our friends and their friends. But then the pandemic happened. And I haven't quite figured out how to get 300 people on Zoom yet, but don't worry, I'm trying.
Well, and it's interesting because I when I was a club promoter, in order to get people to come to the clubs, I had to go out almost every night to different clubs to recruit, to go ahead and recruit people to come to the club. It's like, for example, if I was promoting on a Friday, a club for a Friday, I had to go Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday out to the different clubs and say, hey, what are you doing Friday? Come and see me on Friday.
That's
I got
exactly
this place right here. So I would do that. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's what a good promoter does. it's a nonstop job. People like look at it as like, oh, you're partying. No, I'm working. There's a big difference, you know?
Yeah, but if you're loving, this is what's so funny. A ton of those people that I met for the first time when Nick and I were doing all this promoting, can you believe this? They're my friends now.
Wow.
I mean, they're people I talk, they're not like, far off Facebook friends. Yes, I've got a load of those, but so many of them are my friends now. And especially a lot of the drag performers who got hit financially so hard with all of this, they're doing their shows on Venmo. I totally promote their shows. Some of the people I met that were producers that night, Friday night, tomorrow night, I'm going to be on Lawrence Presents. I'll be on there with Michael Musto, Penny Arcade, Tim Moss, Evan Lawrence, of course, Bobby Hudson, a bunch of really wonderful people. We're going to do readings. We're going to do singings. I'm still promoting. I spend so much time on social media. And again, I'm not getting paid to do that. There's no reward for me doing that. But you know what? I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do, because this pandemic will be over. We'll all be using social media to promote things. And then we'll use ourselves to go out there, because who else do we have except ourselves as our best instrument ever to go out there and promote club events? I can't wait.
No, that's awesome, and like I said, I'm glad that you're still staying active with your cooking show, with promoting these events and things like that. I'm glad that all this stuff is going on. And speaking of social media, how can people stalk you on social media?
Okay, so here we come. On YouTube, it's Wendy Stewart TV. All the pandemic cooking shows are on there, as well as some readings that I've done in clubs as a theatrical performer, and that is called Reading for Filth. That's on there too. It's my new YouTube channel. I'm fleshing it out, but 39 episodes of pandemic cooking are on there. On Facebook, please reach out. I'm accessible. I'm under Wendy Stewart. I have so much fun stuff on my pages because I'm all about fun. Same thing with Instagram. On Instagram, I am under She's the Last Model Standing. On Twitter, I'm under She's the Last Model Standing. Back to Facebook again, because Facebook, everybody, that is the platform that works for me the best and the one I use the most. You can find the pages on my book, She's the Last Model Standing, on Facebook. And if you want to read about my films and the press they get, it's under Visual Journeys or Stories on Facebook. And last but not least, should you want to get my book, She's the Last Model Standing by Wendy Stewart Kaplan, it's on Amazon. Very accessible, and on Kindle as well. And I'm sure at this point there's used copies out there. And sometimes on Kindle they run free specials, people tell me. So I want you to get my book. I make so little on these books, unless I'm in an event selling them. I want you to get my book because I think it'll really help people. I think it'll empower people. I think it'll inspire people. And that's what I am here to do. Thank you so much. And it
sounds like it would be an incredible read too. Wendy Stewart Kaplan, thank you so much for being on the Xander Effect. I appreciate your time, and I hope to have you on here again very soon.
Fantastic. Thank you. Great being here.
All right. We'll talk soon, and be safe out there.
You too.
All right. Thank you so much, Wendy Stewart Kaplan, for being on the Xander Effect. Hope to have you on the show very soon. In sports, Minnesota Twins outfielder Max Kepler had to apologize for wearing a Blue Lives Matter mask in the wake of the George Floyd protests and his death. And it seems that the outfielder had no idea what the mask represented. He had no clue whatsoever. And he went ahead, and shortly after that, he went ahead and took the post down and posted another thing on social media, something else on social media, saying with like two peace fingers up, saying wasn't aware what the mask supported, still not into politics. But that drew even more criticism, for what he had been doing. So he had to go ahead and make a complete statement about what he had done. And he said, quote, "Earlier, I posted a photo of me in a mask that was sent to me by a company to wear during the pandemic. I had no idea that the mask had any underlying inferences I simply thought it looked good. After I was informed, I immediately took down the post. I take complete responsibility for not knowing what I was wearing. I am truly sorry for the hurt and pain my actions have caused, especially now. Racism has no place in our world, and I do not in any way support the actions that we all witnessed that led to George Floyd's passing. My sympathies are with the Floyd family. Another, besides him posting that on social media, the Minnesota Twins actually went ahead and also posted something on Twitter. They tweeted, "We are quote, we are deeply saddened by the tragic and senseless death of George Floyd on Monday night in Minneapolis. The Minnesota Twins send our deepest sympathies to the Floyd family and join with our Twin Cities community in mourning. We will continue working with our community partners to move forward with courage, free of hate and thoughtful in our path, to create the change we want to see in the world. One, all-inclusive Twins territory where everyone is protected, safe, and welcome." So basically, you know, at the end of the day, I honestly think that Max Kepler really had no idea what he was doing. So, you know, I would say to people, take it easy on the guy. I mean, it was an innocent mistake, and you know, he took it down. He apologized for it. So, you know, hopefully they go ahead and the public goes ahead and, you know, takes that into consideration. In other sports news, looks like Conor McGregor and Anderson the Spider Silva might duke it out. Basically, Silva went on an interview and he had said that he was interested in fighting Conor McGregor. And of course, Conor McGregor, after hearing this, he went on social media and he said, "I accept." So looks like they're trying to go ahead and figure out. Hopefully they'll go ahead and figure out exactly what's going to end up happening. But that should be an incredible fight. I mean, initially Conor went ahead and just tweeted out saying that he accepts the fight between him and Anderson Silva. But he went on ahead and, later on he went ahead and tweeted some more, basically expressing what weight he wants to fight Silva in. And looks like it's going to be in the middleweight division, because he went ahead and tweeted 185, rock in like Rosamar. He also tweeted, "You want to see bombs?" So it's definitely going to be one hell of a fight. However, many people are criticizing the fact that Anderson the Spider Silva is past his prime. So this might be a one-sided affair, but who knows? I mean, many people could assume that, but you know, it's all about skill. I mean, and Silva was the champion for a very long time. So we'll see what happens. I mean, they have mutual respect for one another. Obviously, McGregor had expressed that he had put Silva as some of the top GOAT lists for himself, the people he believes to be the GOATs of this sport, and Silva was a part of that. And in turn, Silva also expressed what kind of a good fighter McGregor is. So we'll see what happens. It should be an interesting event. Personally, I think it's going to be a good fight, and I hope the UFC decides to actually make it happen, seeing as the John Jones Francis Ngannou fight is definitely not going to happen due to the fact that they can't come to an agreement financially for both parties. So, this would be another great fight. Hopefully they can come to an agreement as well for a good super fight. We'll see what happens. We'll see what Dana White has to say about this super fight. Coming up next in video game news, looks like duos are on Call of Duty Warzone, and I will be talking about that. But first, here are the Pawn Hawks, Midnight Howl, right here on the Xander Effect.
What up? This is AB.
Hey guys, this is Sean Kanan.
What's going on? It's Amanda Holly.
Hey, Jeremy Miller from Growing Pains here.
This is Maxim Waddle Riley Sawyer.
And you're listening.
And you're listening.
And you're listening to the Xander Effect.
I'm walking down the country road, guitar in my hand. I'm always thinking to myself, will I be a famous man? Well, I'm tired of scraping for a living, I don't like it anymore. When my paycheck grosses 48 and I take home 24. You and I, we work all day to earn our daily bread. When you come home, you watch TV and then you're off to bed. You toss and turn all night long and wake up on the floor. And your wife says, what's the matter? I say, don't want to work no more. No, I don't want to work anymore. I don't like going to work at 6 and coming home at 4. No, I don't want to work anymore. When my paycheck grosses 48 and I take home 24. I don't like going to work at 6 and coming home at 4. No, I don't want to work anymore. When my paycheck grosses 48 and I take home 24.
That was Frank Mullen's Don't Wanna Work right here on the Xander Effect. In video game news, according to Games Radar columnist Austin Woods, it looks like Call of Duty Modern Warfare has added a surprise update in adding duos into the Warzone, among other things. He went ahead and he said in his column, quote, "With this update, Warzone now supports solo, duo, trio, and quad playlists for its mainline Battle Royale mode, as well as a quad playlist for Plunder on the side. This is the first time a duos option has been available for the Battle Royale mode since Warzone's release in March. Like trios and quads, the duos playlist does give players the option to join solo and disable autofill in case you find yourself in the mood for a slew of 2 on versus 1 engagements." So that's actually really good news because there were times where you want to go ahead and include your friends in there, but of course you couldn't. And it was kind of like a pain because you had to go to Plunder to try to go ahead and include your friends in there. And sometimes you wanted to do Plunder on your own. It was a weird situation. It's very strange when it comes to wanting to play with friends on certain modes and not wanting to play with friends in other modes. So it's really cool that Call of Duty decided to add that. So looking forward to that. In other video game news, PlayStation is requiring that all developers go ahead and when they submit, their games, that it would be that, pretty much anything after July is going to be compatible with PS5. So in other words, if games have been developed for PS4, they're asking developers to go ahead and submit all their games so that way they could be compatible for PS5 after July. So that way, all the games that are being played right now, they need to, they're not going to do, because PlayStation's not going to do cross-play, or they're not going to be cross-compatible. No, these games are not going to be cross-compatible according to PlayStation, according to Sony Associates. Basically, they're saying that it's not going to be cross-compatible, so therefore all these video game developers, they need to go ahead and make sure their hardware is compatible with PS5, so that way all the games that are being played right now can actually be downloaded on PS5. But any other games, obviously from, last year or anything like that, they're not going to be compatible with PS5, and there's no, they're not going to be cross-compatible, so that, it is what it is, as far as that's concerned right there, simply because Sony Interactive Entertainment boss Jim Ryan basically explained why they're not going to be doing that. He said, quote, "We have always said that we believe in generations. We believe that when you go to all the trouble of creating a next-gen console, that it should include features and benefits that the previous generation does not include. And that, in our view, people should make games that can make the most of those features. We do not believe in generations, and whether it's the DualSense controller, whether it's the 3D audio, whether it's the multiple ways that the SSD can be used, we are thinking that it is time to give the PlayStation community something new, something different that can really only be enjoyed on PS5. Now, see, in a sense, I agree with that statement. In a sense, I don't. Now, Xbox, they will have the games that will be cross-compatible. They will have that feature on the Xbox, which might give them an edge over PS5 because as a gamer, I'll let you know right now, there are times that there are old games that I want to play, but I couldn't. Well, this is back when Xbox wasn't really, doing cross-compatible games up until recently, and I was angry because I had to sell all my games and buy new ones for the new console. But at the same time, when they started doing cross-compatibility, I was like elated. I was so happy because I was like, dude, I could play my old games here now, So that was really cool. So for PS5 not to be able to do that with past games, that's going to be kind of tough because what are players going to do if they want to play some old games? What are they going to have to, keep their old PlayStation and just continue to go back and forth between consoles? It's a little inconvenient. So, but it is what it is. But I do see Sony's point in, pretty much looking ahead instead of looking behind. But, it's always fun to look behind every once in a while, right? So you never know. That's the news in case you haven't heard it. Thank you so much for listening to the Xander Effect. Don't forget to tune in to World of Dance podcast. Man, that podcast is amazing. I get to interview the contestants of season 4's World of Dance, so make sure you watch out for that one. And of course, we're still in this crisis. Things are reopening up little by little, but we're still not out of the woods yet. Make sure you continue to wear your masks, your gloves, your goggles if you got it. Make sure you continue to wear all that to protect yourselves and your loved ones. And remember, music always, always heals all. We'll see you next time.
Yo. That be tell I told. Yeah, you did. They ain't believe it though. One life. Do Brown. Same game, be teller. What up? Woo! So we kick it like it's kickball. Power couple, she dripping in that Dolce Gabbana. They wanna touch her, everybody know that's do girl. What you gonna do about it? Me and her take on the world, now that's a true.
Hey everyone, the Xander Effect is powered by 50/50 Global Music Inc., Sony Music, The Orchard, and BMG Bertelsmann Group, in association with Art 19 Media.